Hello everybody, my name is Christabel Gota and I'm the General Manager for Corporate Affairs at Metropolitan, responsible for sponsorships. Today we are at Cape Town International Stadium. This, as you know, is a stadium where 8 of the World Cup matches for 2010 were held this year. The area we're standing on is specifically called the mix zone. This is where the media mixes with the players and sometimes some of the coaches after each and every game that is played. This is in such a way so that the media can arrange proper interviews with whatever players that they would like to be talking to. Today, we're going to be talking about exactly that. How is it that you can use the media to build your brand and profile in a positive way? We are also going to be looking at specific types of media and how it is that you should treat them differently, again, to the best of your advantage. And we're obviously going to be looking at the definite no-nos. What is it that you must never ever do when you're working with the media as well as media? There are a few things that you have to remember when dealing with media. It is really not that complicated. However, if you stick to these, you will be what they call the darling of the media. First up is your messaging. When you speak to the media, there must be consistency about what you say. It doesn't have to be the same thing all the time, but it must truly be aligned to who you are. And when we talk about who you are, we're talking about your values, what you believe in, what it is that you are about. It is very important that today you don't say something different to a print journalist and say something different to a television journalist, because people are going to start not believing what it is that you say. Then there must be evidence to what you are putting out there. You cannot say you believe in something in your messages when we fail, as the publics, we fail to see what it is that you are talking about in the evidence. That means that in the work that you do. For example, if you're saying that, like Lucas Radebe, you believe in building people and helping communities, we must continuously see the evidence of you building communities and helping people or coaching youngsters. The evidence must always be there in your message, as well as in the values that you live as an individual. There's also a few things you must remember when you're dealing, especially with some media that is always short of time. Always put forward and start with what is most important about your message. You can always come back and have an off-the-record chat with a journalist. But the most important thing is that when you open your mouth, when you start talking, what is very important comes out first. And also that journalists are able to, if again they do not have time or print space, or as it is on radio, they do not have enough time again, they must be able to cut what we call sound bites. Sound bites are very important because if you're constantly talking about something, again, that is aligned to your values, that has got a proper messaging, it's very easy for someone to get 20 seconds, 30 seconds of what it is that you say and be able to pass the message on to the next person who may not know about you, who may not ever met you, but they get the gist of what it is that you are about. These things are very important. Then, lastly, is delivery. It is really never helped anybody to use language that is too in English, that has got too many big words. Keep it simple, keep it short, so that your audience and your journalists and all media and the publics are able to understand what it is that you're talking about. So don't use big words. Stick to the simple and short words. And also, if you've got an opportunity, and I know, and I'm sure you know, that English is a very difficult language. If you've got an opportunity to hold an interview in your own language so that you are not misinterpreted, ask the journalist if you could please hold an interview in your own language. Media always have got people who can do translations. They can find a translator at any time. However, you will not always have an opportunity to go back and say, actually, this is not what I meant. I meant something different. That is now messaging, delivery, making sure that you know your values, providing sound bites for your journalists. Those are the key components that you have to remember when dealing with media. Next up, we're going to look specifically and in probably a little bit more detail into the 3 main types of media that we are likely to encounter. One of them is television, and in this we will include the internet, your YouTubes, and all that kind of media. Secondly, we'll talk about radio, and thirdly, we will talk about print. As I indicated before, we are now going to go into a little bit more detail talking about the different media platforms. First up is television. Now, as the word suggests, television is a visual media. You must always remember this. One of the most important things about television is that you must grab someone's attention when they look at you before you even say anything. And anything that you do that makes them look at you in judgment is going to be a bit of a problem. Therefore, first up, the colors that you put on. You must make sure that whatever it is that you wear brings out you, as opposed to making you disappear. Therefore, for black people, please stay away from wearing too much black and too much gray because you disappear into the screen. Secondly, everything that you do on TV is exaggerated. Every little movement that you make is exaggerated. Therefore, try and keep as still as possible. I'm not saying that you must sit there and look like an ice pack. Again, I'm going to go back to my language issue. It is one of those mediums that is very instant. Therefore, please, if you can, hold the interview in your own language. Ask the interviewer if you can do the interview in your own language. Again, they're able to find translators to take further the message. As you know, we've now got platforms such as YouTube and Facebook. So anything that you do that could be seen as a joke, in other words, something that will just take your brand that notch down or make you look like not as professional as you are, could end up on YouTube, even if it doesn't end up in a television screen. So bear these things in mind. However, having said all of that with regards to television, please remember the issues we spoke about before. Your values, your messaging, and the delivery, as well as the evidence of that. All of those apply to whichever media that you're working with. Next up, we're going to be talking about radio. Now, radio is a very interesting one because nobody can see you. That could be both a good thing and a bad thing. A good thing because all of the movements I was talking about on TV, what you have to dress and look like on TV, really does not apply, only though to some extent. What really matters is your projection in your voice. Your messaging is key because nobody can see you. It is very important that you provide sound bites. I'm sure those of you who are real soccer lovers, and I'm sure that's all of you, have listened to Robert Marawa's Sports Center. There's a few great examples there of one of the best sound bites. You must listen to them. They're very interesting. What he does is he will interview a whole host of people, but there are key things that can pass the message one way or the other that he takes, and then he broadcasts onto the media, and you are left wanting to hear more. That is what we want with you when you do your interviews on radio. We want people to stay interested. However, the most important thing is what you say. We also do know, of course, that what you dress like gives you a certain sense of confidence. So having said just recently that what you look like is not really important because nobody can see you, it is advisable that you dress properly so that you feel like the champion that you are. Again, with regards to radio, your messaging becomes important. We'll go back to your values, we'll go back to your delivery. Next up, we're going to be talking about print. Another type of visual and read media. You can see at the stadium, whenever games are played, that some media like this have access onto the pitch, photographic media and some as well as TV journalists. What this helps is for them to get as close as possible to the action to be able to bring again it back to the public. Going on to print, a picture, in as far as print is concerned, says 1,000 words. With pictures and photographers, this is how they make their living in being able to sell the best pictures of the best strikers onto print media across the world. It is somehow a little bit different from TV because most of the time a TV camera is on consistently onto a certain player and you can be able to get a shot of a certain action or a certain player from a few different media. However, with print, there is a kind of uniqueness with the kinds of pictures that they are able to get and sell on. Again, it becomes important how much the print media or the person who's buying that picture knows about you as an individual, which is why with print, as with all the other mediums, it is very important for you to be able to build relationships with the journalists. You see them. They are here on the pitch every time after the game. You build a relationship. They're supposed to be able to know what kind of person you are. Again, that relationship is built in the honesty of what it is you say to the media that is really based on your values. The other thing about print media is that it is a little bit friendlier, purely because of the fact that it is a little bit delayed than the other media. Therefore, your relationships with the journalists, even though they are important with radio and TV, these relationships become a bit more important because of the fact that you can have a little bit more contribution about what is being said about you out there. Therefore, you should ask the following questions. When a print journalist calls you for an interview, you should probably ask that they write the questions down and mail them to you or fax them to you, whichever way you are able to get them. Secondly, you should always ask them what time is their deadline. Never ever miss a deadline when you promise someone that you would get back to them or you would respond to them. That builds a bad reputation. And thirdly, when you send back whatever it is that the question is about on the interview, try and make sure that you give them a little bit more. You may even attach your CV, a couple of your other pictures, because then it gives them in total of what you are as an individual. And again, it goes back to building your brand and making sure that the messages that are out there about you are true. We've seen a couple of pictures in the newspapers. All those pictures are sometimes true, but what really drives it home is what the headline says. So if there was a picture of you in the newspaper with a journalist that didn't like you, your headline could be negative. So those relationships, even though with all types of media, are really, really important for you to remember. We're going to go back to the basics. 1, the messaging is very important. It has to be consistent because it is based on your values. And secondly, your delivery and also the type of language that you use and how it is that you talk to people. Thirdly, it is important for you to build those relationships. Most important, whatever it is you say, we must be able to see the evidence of it, because otherwise it just becomes an empty promise. That's all I have for you today. I hope to see you at all the tournaments. And please, if you do have any further questions, do not be afraid to ask. We'll be bringing the media to you and hope that you make the best opportunity of making sure that you build your profile and your career going forward. Most important of all, please enjoy and be honest. Thank you.